everyone, and welcome back to the LEC studio. Now, I'm Medic and joined by Shakarez, who's going to shine a little bit of a spotlight on a new superstar from a surprising source. It's Humanoid for Splyce in the mid lane.
Yeah, so they're in a fantastic form recently. They won 7 out of their last 8 games. We didn't talk about yesterday, but other than that, fantastic form. They only lost to G2, the league leaders, and they beat Fnatic and Origin, who are the 2 teams that also finished above them in the standings in spring. So they're very much on track to get that top 2 spot and qualify directly to Athens.
Yeah, they're really battling it out with teams like Schalke, who are pushing up towards the top of it. And a lot of it has to be off the back of this man in the mid lane. Humanoid has had a stellar split.
Yeah, he's been killing it, absolutely. He's been taking over as Splyce's primary carry, and he has a third of the team's total damage in these last 3 weeks, without excluding yesterday. And he leads the league in solo kills. He has 11, that's 2 above Caps and leader.
It's very impressive, but looking at some of these numbers, his CSD is actually a little bit behind, minus 6.8 in the last couple of weeks. What do you think explains that?
Yeah, so he has a lot of games that he, in these 3 weeks that he played Akali and Qiyana in losing matchups where he's going to fall behind, so they're going to skew the stats a bit down, but that's brought up against his Azir games where he's been totally dominating.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those meta champions, because we do see him playing a lot of Azir. How do you feel he suits the current meta?
Yeah, so I think Splyce are always happy to put him on the Azir side of the Azir Corki matchup. He's played it 3 times now. He always gets ahead in lane, especially against Pyrian. He got a 30 CS lead, almost solo killed him, forced his flash. You know, he's been playing great, and most teams have opted into banning the Emperor of Shurima against him.
It makes a lot of sense, but it's not just his Azir and meta play that we like. We also really like the fact he was the first guy to bring out Qiyana, and his Akali play is great.
Yeah, so his assassin play is really what has impressed me. This is against Misfits. He gets the E and then goes in, gets a triple micro stun with a perfect execution, and then just waits in Shroud until his team can follow up, get in, and then he can get two assassinations in and win the team fight for Splyce.
Yeah, he's really been popping off for Splyce on this Akali. Here we see him become a quadra kill as well, isolating the enemy jungler, taking him out so you can't have that Baron steal come out. Chachi ends up stealing the Penta away from him, but I mean, Humanoid was quite low at the end, so I don't think he'll mind too much.
Yeah, just great play here. He dodges leaders engage, which is the main part, and then he just cleans up, kills the jungler. And he's just been doing great in these fights. While he has had lower impact in spring and the start of summer, over the last 3 weeks, to me, he's looked like the 2nd best mid laner in the league. So I'm excited to see him keep up this form and see how far he can take the Splyce roster.
High praise from you, Shakarez. Thank you very much. Now, Splyce and Humanoid face a tough challenge today as they go up against Schalke on a hunt for the top 2.
Thank you very much, Medic. Of course, Humanoid, a guy that we always are excited to talk about given his recent performances, especially on things that aren't Corki or Azir. Bless. But he'll be going up against Abbedagge today, and I hope we see more of those explosive matchups because Schalke is a team that is very much in the running to contest Splyce at the top of the table.
Yeah, and I expect to see some exciting picks here because I think there's a lot of parallels across the board on this team. Humanoid been finding his form very recently on these explosive mid-type champions. Has had his hand on the Azir as well, but I think Abbedagge too has looked very at home on picks like the Akali as well. So I'd love to see some spicier options picked up by those 2 rookies.
For now, however, as we enter picks and bans, the jungles remain the center of attention. We'll get to those in a brief moment. As you can see, both the Olaf and the Sejuani taken away, the Karma going to follow as well. And as exciting as the mid lane is, eventually we have to look at the supporting cast when we talk about mid laners, and that is both of these junglers, Xerxe versus Trick. What priority junglers are we looking for here in the early draft?
Well, I think already they've taken away some of the signature picks from the other side. You know, Trick has been a big fan of that Sejuani. I think after the Olaf is taken away too, my eyes go to the Skarner for him because when we look at these 2 junglers, I usually associate them. They're both very smart early game pathing junglers, but I like to see Trick more on champions that enable his team. A lot of team fighters like the Sejuani, the Skarner too, really fit into his wheelhouse, whereas Xerxe is much more focused on building an experience advantage in the early game over his jungler, opposing jungler through smart early game pathing. So I like to see him on stuff that can maybe clear through a little bit faster, the likes of the Olaf or the Elise or perhaps even the Jark.
And the thing that excites me so much about this matchup, you talked about parallels, and I just see them everywhere. The Azir now will be the lock-in for Abbedagge. I'm a little sad. If we get a Corki 2 here, I will be double sad, but I'm kind of hoping that Splyce have an ace up their sleeve. But there are so many parallels. You've got active early junglers and Trick and Xerxe. You've got top laners who can be the big explosive playmakers for the team, or sometimes can be a liability. You've got the playmaking supports, and most importantly, folks, you've got the greatest mid lane matchup of all time. That's right, it's your favorite. It's Corki versus Azir.
Oh, all right, though. We do have the Qiyana alongside it. So, yes, the first two picks, maybe not everyone's cup of tea, but the Qiyana here is definitely one we'll have to be tracking. Now, we have seen it played up in the top lane. We expect the Corki to go mid, but also jungle Qiyana is a possibility. While it doesn't have the greatest early game clear, I do remember Xerxe also picking up very early on the Sylas in the jungle, which is another champion that sort of mirrors this Qiyana pick.
Well, and additionally, he's just consistently been an innovator historically. We haven't seen that as much on the Splyce lineup, but we know it's something that he still holds to. He's always willing to try new picks in solo queue. And going toe-to-toe with the Skarner from Trick, you have to imagine, will be a bit difficult given struggles that Qiyana has in early clear. See what Schalke want to go for here. The hover over on the Jhin, but instead the lock-in of the Aatrox. I wonder if that's hinting at what's to come, if Splyce maybe have a Jhin up their sleeve that Schalke are calling out right now.
Yep, gonna pick up the soul lanes and junglers now for Schalke. Waiting on that bottom lane, interestingly. We've seen a lot of early bot lane picks, but with the likes of the Yuumi and the Xayah banned away, a lot of those high priority duos have been taken off the board. I do like this Gnar pickup, however, for Vizicsacsi. He's played that 3 times already in this split, and it does have a favorable matchup in towards that Aatrox strong ranged presence in terms of the laning phase, but also big team fight abilities and the ability to throw people against a wall, which when you have a Qiyana on your team seems very good.
2 wall-based champion ultimates. Of course, fantastic. And for Vizicsacsi, once again, we talk about him as a player that can be a defining factor for his team, both good and bad. But when you look at the best of Vizicsacsi back on, let's say, on Splyce currently, whether it was on Schalke or Unicorns of Love, the Gnar was always a huge champion because he always could be that game changer, that big single flank ultimate that could decide a game, going toe-to-toe with the Aatrox on the top side of the map. But for now, so into the second ban phase, supports are actually going to be the focus. Both the Pyke and the Nautilus banned away. Now, not surprising when you look at the names on the bottom side of the map. It is IgNar and Norskeren, so the less hook or playmaking champions you can give them, usually the better.
Yeah, still going to be looking at the Rakan. Immediately as I say it, though, that does get banned away. Now we're going way down on terms of support priority here. Thresh is a champion I think IgNar would love to get his hands on. We've seen Norskeren play that pick in the past as well, but it might just be fairly, go back a couple of patches and see a lot more of the likes of Braum in this game. And that's, come on. I say the Braum to ban it away. We're seeing Thresh this game.
I'm gonna call that a prediction, is what we'll give you the credit for. Taking their time now. Of course, the Qiyana is... The thing I forget to mention is the Qiyana is basically now set to go to jungle, given the picks that we have so far, short of some crazy flex with this Corki. But the crazy flex are always an option. Now, not normally something we think about when we think about Splyce is, crazy flex picks all over the place, something we usually reserve for G2, but definitely an option this game. The Tahm Kench, really the only pick that we can be most certain should be going into the support position after the most recent set of nerfs. But now Upset gets his pick for the remaining 80 carries. And it looks like Sivir may just be the option, can be the rock for his team as they move later into the game.
I would love to see a Sivir here, the movement speed bonus, but no! It's IgNar Blitzcrank, baby! I love it.
Ooh, there was the option for the handshake on the passive laning supports. They could have picked Tahm Kench, they could pick something else on the opposite side. Most of those things banned, but no. IgNar getting the Blitzcrank. It's been a long time since we've seen him play this champion, but he has a legacy here. He is a hook king.
The best part about it is he gets the 2-for-1 special up against the Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench eats an ally. You just hook him on both in there. Now, if they lock in the Sivir alongside it, this comp could be really, really scary if you just gave it all the movement speed. But instead, it's going to be the Kai'Sa. And the interesting thing about Kai'Sa Blitzcrank as a lane is that you have so much burst damage. If you land 1 Q, that's 1 CC to proc Kai'Sa's passive. Then you get the knock-up as well. You instantly cycle through that Kai'Sa passive for the bonus damage and also get that isolated Cathian Rain as well. So a lot of damage and almost insta-kills if you can land hooks in lane.
See what the option is, but there's the Jhin. Now picked up for Kobbe. See exactly how he wants to utilize this champion. See what most of the pros have been using on him. Of course, small buffs to his W, I believe, in terms of cooldown, is a bit more active now in the early game.
Yep. Also, the root duration went up 0.25 seconds at all ranks, which seems like a small number, but is actually very impactful. One of the main reasons we saw Skarner come back into play back last year was because of CC increase on his E. Now, Jhin also will be able to set up from range. That's always one of the biggest strengths of this pick, is that long-range utility potential.
Ender, I just want to put a pin in this because I want you to talk about it as soon as we get in the game, and that's Qiyana jungle.
Oh, yeah.
I need to know literally everything. But at this moment, you can skip it. You can give me the cliff notes later. Talk to me about these team compositions. We've talked a little bit about the bot lane, but the rest of this, it just feels like with a Blitzcrank in the game, we are set up for some explosive moments.
Yeah, I mean, Schalke obviously have the pick tools of the Blitzcrank, and I think if they can take control over the river in this game, that's when they become so powerful with the ability to speed at you with the likes of the Skarner or flash hook with this Blitzcrank. That's something that has to be on the minds of Splyce. Whereas Splyce, we already mentioned earlier, this team loves walls. Chuck people into walls, you're going to have so much team fight damage. And just blast them.
I just love that your breakdown is we got a river team and we got a wall team, and we're going to see who gets
and we
what
have
they want.
Qiyana in the game too. Elements everywhere.
A game of elements, folks. Best way to break it down. We are gearing up for our third game of the day. Ooh.
Okay.
We'll gloss over that one. It was a strong first chant. Follow-up not ideal, but you might have more reasons to cheer here. Of course, Schalke at 7-4, Splyce 8-3, and as interesting as the standings are, as close as these two teams are, there's a Qiyana in the jungle, and my god, I want to understand why. Do I have to worry about this in solo queue, Ender?
Possibly, because one of the weaknesses of Qiyana in the jungle is that early clear is not actually all that great. You know, early on you will fall pretty low in terms of HP. She doesn't have any sort of sustain built into her kit, even though she has some AoE damage inside of her Q. She does not have that sustain, which is a little bit of a concern on this type of a champion. So we expect to see her maybe start on this top side of the map, clear away her 3 camps on that top side of the map, and maybe look for an early reset, because once you can finish off your jungle item, I think that's when things get a whole lot easy for you on this pick.
And of course, 26th July, LCK playing a little Blitzcrank. No surprise to see IgNar pick it up here. And if you've been watching around the world, if you've been keeping your eyes on LCS Academy for whatever reason, you'll have noticed that Drakos has already played this champion twice. So there's a bit of tape, but I remain unconvinced by the viability. Xerxe, though, is classically an innovator. And you have to imagine the Splyce lineup would not have put it on stage unless they knew exactly what they were going to get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is I was expecting this pick to rise to priority because of its ability to flex into the jungle, where you maybe steal it away from a player like Abbedagge, and then you have the option, if you get put into a bad matchup in the mid lane, to then put it into the jungle or into the top lane. But Splyce, in this case, they just went ahead and locked that in right off the bat alongside a mid laner. So they were very telling in which lane this was actually going to be going to, and you can already see now, like, you're looking not terrible. You got a pretty sizable leash here from Gnar right off the bat, but we will continue to track this guy as he moves through the jungle.
Yeah, the red buff start as well, just making it a little bit easier with that additional help for Jhin and Trick, of course. Unsurprisingly, will clear a little bit faster. Skarner, of course, notoriously on those spires, just a clearing machine.
Yeah. The AoEs, especially on the side of Xerxe, I'm just going to keep following this. Qiyana jungle, we've seen enough Skarner, I'm going to say here. Does very well against the AoE camps. You know, you can reset your Q cooldown with the W. Now look for what's going
game lane. Abbedagge, is he going to be able to dash to safety? Has been locked up. Huge damage now coming in. Xerxe fire with a Q first blood! That is not what I expected. You told me low clear early game. You told me he's going to suffer, but he's flourishing.
I mean, here's the thing. Usually you don't expect to see Qiyana go for these super early game ganks, committing the flash to secure that kill here. But now all of a sudden it changes a lot of things for Xerxe. He has the sweeper too, so he's going to keep Abbedagge guessing where he's going to be on the map, and because Trick went for a full clear right off the bat, it means that Xerxe can pretty easily pick up this Scuttle Crab on the bottom side and continue to take these camps that aren't going to set him low in the jungle.
And Humanoid kept his flash as well, so everything coming up in the favor of Splyce at this stage of the game. We'll take a look back from his pro view, riot.com/ProView, if you want to watch the Qiyana jungle.
Yep, picks up the Water Blade in the river, has his W come back up, so he picks up the rock for that execute damage. It's skill.
Yeah, and honestly, late game, it's like impossible for me to understand 100% what Qiyana's doing. She just pushes a lot of buttons. It looks cool, but early game, that champion looks super cool when you actually play it out and use all of the actives to take a new element, to dash back in, to reset the passive. And Xerxe not only will get through his first clear relatively healthy, will grab a kill as well, and now he goes from honestly suffering very early on to flourishing here as he goes through these camps.
Yeah, pops over to an earlier level 4 there, also thanks to the gank in the mid lane. We picked up some experience as well, so very good start for him. Now, expect to see him go for a reset relatively soon and then get back to clearing his jungle. His Krugs are going to be respawning very soon, which is why we see Trick walking into this topside inside jungle. He uses the blast cone right there, and if he had had a yellow trinket instead of the sweeper, I would have loved to see him walk up and put that deep ward on the Krug camp to have exact timing of when Xerxe was going to be on that side of the map. But he has relatively good knowledge of when that camp respawns, because once you get vision, you will see that go ahead and pop back up, and very nicely done there.
As exciting as Qiyana and Xerxe are at this point in the game, I do want to highlight Trick a little bit, because while Xerxe is very much the catalyst for early game, it's the same story on the opposite side for Trick, and Trick has been very good most of the time. Sadly for him this game, it's a bit of a tough situation, as his mid lane has already been put behind, and he's running out of options. But inevitably, still that pressure is there that we have to keep our eyes on Trick. You have to expect the Skarner to get more done here in the early game, and that's a big burden to bear. Yeah,
no, Trick has been clearing relatively quickly, hits 5 a little bit faster than Xerxe right there, and we're waiting to see him get that level 6 mark. Once he does get that, the Predator Boots set up for a very easy gank. Unless you wanted to play around bottom lane, I think that's the only lane you could maybe look for a gank before that level 6 mark comes around from Trick.
Yeah. Of course, for both Trick and Gnar, obviously the potential to get a lot of plays started. Yet to see any kind of crazy hooks coming in from IgNar on the bottom side of the map. And as you mentioned, river control going to be pretty crucial if they want to get maximum value out of this Blitzcrank, or they can just go in for a bit of damage. Norskeren spits him right back up, but there's still 4 stacks on him. IgNar going to flash forward, but not going to be too much. Overstaying is welcome, and now the Tahm Kench continues forward. Wants to get more damage down. Upset now threatening. Skarner moving his way down. The root will connect. A huge exchange of cooldowns, but no doubt that Schalke come out on top.
Yeah, the big win there, of course, Kobbe losing his flash. It makes it so risky now playing throughout this lane. Trick also walking inside the enemy jungle right now. Humanoid is relatively low on this Corki, but still has the flash, still has the Valkyrie as well. Just uses it there. Does Trick want to go?
Getting much lower. Going in. That's a Predator. Just run him down, little Scorpion. Humanoid. Oh, nice. Got him. Big jukes. Got the flash though, good play. But now the TP bot side, Vizicsacsi is here! Everyone is now coming into the fight. Splyce trying to find 1 kill. Odoamne shows up just in time to say goodbye. Splyce finding 2 quick kills.
Yeah, just a great call there from Splyce. They see Trick go very hard in this mid lane to make the play. There was that deep ward placed when Norskeren and Kobbe were pushing up earlier, so it sets up for a very good TP there by Vizicsacsi, and Xerxe just passing right alongside Trick meant that he was able to slither into this bottom lane unseen.
Oof. And overall, just fantastic once again from the side of Splyce. Excited to see what exactly happened in that replay. Ender, take us through it.
Take us through. Okay, well, we got Gnar already charged up. Vizicsacsi coming in from the side. Remember, no flash on IgNar, so, well, the ult against the wall didn't exactly work, but it didn't exactly matter, Drakos.
Doesn't matter. Remember, folks, Ender, premier analyst of the LEC, broke it down for us. Wall comp,
wall good.
River comp. Where'd they stand? Next to a wall. Bad news. Splyce come out on top. Wall team.
Splyce also just had more people there. Maybe mattered a little bit more than the walls. But I like this from Trick.
Wall
down in the bottom lane. Remember, no flash on Kobbe. There is flash ultimate on Trick. So the second Kobbe steps away from Norskeren and doesn't have access to the immediate devour, that could play a role, but not this time.
And I'm going to be completely honest, this is the dream early game for the side of Splyce.
Oh yeah.
You've got Gnar winning on the top side. Odoamne matched TPs and got nothing, so Gnar continues to get further and further ahead. And additionally, the Qiyana is a champion that we don't really know what to expect from the jungle, but when she's fed in mid lane, she kills a lot of people, so I'm going to assume it's somewhat similar in the jungle.
It definitely is, especially because you just get to roam much earlier when you're playing jungle Qiyana. That's sort of your job here, so once Xerxe clears out his camps, you can just start to get inside the enemy jungle, look to mess around with Trick a lot here. Now that he has finished his warrior enchantment, like, the jungle here is super easy. You basically one-shot a lot of these AoE camps with the QWQ right there.
And it's only going to be easier, too. We'll see if he wants to optimize or itemize into some lethality. Of course, not going to get nearly as much gold as he would in a solo lane position, or normally. He does have a lot of kills now under his belt. See what else he can do. But actually putting a lot of attention to the top side as well was, and I got to say, Xerxe versus Trick, right now, everything going in the favor of Xerxe. He's been to the top side, consistently clearing out vision for Vizicsacsi. He's been to the bot side for those big plays. And right now, once again, Xerxe's fantastic early game is paying off for Splyce.
Yep, has an experience advantage over Trick as well, so everything going very nicely for them at the moment. The other thing we have to keep in mind for Splyce as a team is when you go for this Corki pick, also the Gnar on the side, and their side lane strength is very strong the later we do get into this game. Jhin, maybe not the best guy just perching up in the mid lane in terms of overall wave clear, but overall they can look to play through these side lanes and then have Xerxe just sit with one of them and look for those explosive plays. Because Qiyana has so much burst damage with that ultimate, it gives them a lot of ability to explode come the mid game if they can find picks inside.
And you see the water blade prepped and ready in Humanoid. That is totally a bait. Abbedagge does not take it, however. walking down to the brush to try to set up. Xerxe with the prep water blade can just fish for the snare here, see where he wants to go. Could also just take the Cloud Drake as he has priority on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking for Xerxe right there. They're really trying to make something out of the last few seconds on the package right there. Instead, he really wants to make this gank happen. Still coming around.
Xerxe on the backside. Trick is here as well. Have to be careful. They're just going to disengage the play. Qiyana, of course, so many dashes in the kit, is able to just walk away from that one. Might just fish for a kill on a Trick.
Yeah, remember, any mid 2v2 can immediately become a 4v2 in favor of Splyce because they have the Tahm, Kench, and Kobbe Norskeren with a little bit of pressure in that lane at the moment can be the first one to start running up in towards this river. So it makes it very, very hairy for like Schalke to ever try and look for any play around this lane.
Well, this is difficulty, right? Is we talked about how much that a Skarner and Blitzcrank would like to have river control, would like to have a vision advantage, so they can just set up for these surprise picks. X-Flash, IgNar, grab the hook, he juked him! Norskeren wasn't ready for it, he uses the thick skin, but I think it's too little too late. IgNar breaks the shield, that's a new mechanic, finds it.
I love it here, seeing the new mechanic in work there. Of course, IgNar's ultimate on the Blitzcrank will tear through any shield, no matter how big, no matter how small, and the damage is applied after the shield goes down too. So is able to use that to kill secure there on towards the Tahm, Kench. Makes this matchup even better.
That was the most, I'm sorry, that was like the most solo Q bait of all time. I love that that worked. The classic just channel Hex Flash. It's like putting a pink ward in
Puts
plain
his
sight.
hand up right. Get back here.
Norskaren's like, I've been bamboozled.
Like, wait, I didn't think he'd do that one. Trick just comes through the lane and deleted.
That feels so good now. That's the only time in my life I've wanted to play Blitzcrank, but watching him just delete that shield instantly on the back of that like flex animation, very cool.
I'm also like, I'm trying to see if he actually popped the shield there too, because I saw the gray health on the Tahm, Kench. I'm not even sure if Norskeren reacted for that one.
Doesn't matter.
Either way, got the kill.
IgNar got the kill, and that's what matters. And now they have a bit of vision, and that's going to be a hook. Ooh. Felt a breeze on his backside, Humanoid. Was a little nervous on that one. Now has to walk away. And checking in on the state of the game, of course, Splyce still with a 1.5k, 1.6k gold lead. Qiyana very much ahead. Humanoid taking the cold, though, is delaying some of these early power spikes. And overall, Splyce have the advantage, but need to do more with it if they want to extend it.
Yeah, and Kobbe actually just sacrificed his own lane a little bit right there. It seemed like there was maybe going to be a play up towards the Herald, so both Kobbe and Norskeren made that big rotation up towards that side of the map. There didn't end up being any action, so at the same time, Upset was just full pushing that wave in down bottom lane. Kobbe's denied a little bit of golden experience, which will ultimately not mean a whole lot in terms of the state of the game. But these are the tiny little things that can tend to add up if you're Splyce and trying to play this 100% game.
For now, Odoamne and Vizicsacsi going toe-to-toe. Conquer a proc for Odoamne, but has to be careful without the Dark and Blade cooldown up. Can't really maximize that healing. Vizicsacsi playing with so much confidence on the top side, and the CS lead continues to grow. Odo starts this Gromp, and I don't think this is what he wanted. Xerxe coming in. It's been a long time. We'll see if they can get something done here. Stepping through Odoamne. Oh no, it's too little. No, he might be able to get it. Vizicsacsi makes it out with an inch of his life. Such a close play.
Almost the outplay there for Odoamne. Vizicsacsi able to flash on out of there, and Kobbe TP's in up top side too, so we're in a full reset now, or full lane swap. Xerxe can start up this Rift Herald, not caring too much about the Cloud Drake being on the bottom side of the map. It's a big power play out of them, but look at this. IgNar's now rotated in towards the river and should be able to stop this move from Xerxe.
Sneaky Blitzcrank.
Teleport too.
Xerxe does a lot of damage, but is very, very squishy. IgNar, fishing, not gonna find it. We'll walk away. This is
the walk of shame after you missed that.
Hey, it's fishing simulator, really. We're playing some Stardew Valley right now. See what he can get. Oh no, IgNar now has been locked up. The play might just turn on him. Norskeren instantly flashes out though. Schalke have the man advantage here. Now it's Humanoid though on the backside. Maybe he can get something done. The Jhin ultimate has been used. Hooked, pulled in, locked up, and silenced. But Norskeren gets taken down. Upset has found a kill. Trick in the midst of everything. Might just get taken down. Odoamne tries to get something back. But oh no, Vizicsacsi is here. And you cannot get away from this Gnar. He will find the kill. Kobbe grabs one as well.
The wall team gets it to work right there for Splyce. Big ultimate. Chachi still has his.
Smacks him into the wall. Upset now in trouble. Jhin has to respect the potential here. Upset could try to go in, but Jhin does a lot of damage. The crit almost prepped. Xerxe now instantly moving in the mid lane. Splyce are not afraid to up the tempo of this game. They've got Schalke on the back foot, and they are pushing in for more.
Absolutely love this too. 15 seconds before the tower plates go down. They're going to be able to secure every single one of them in the mid lane and just put a lot more gold on towards Xerxe in the jungle. He's doing very, very well for himself so far.
And the top side of the map for Splyce right now is monstrous. Humanoid given a small advantage early, finally able to spend that coal money. You
you can see Vizicsacsi steadily building a lead, 30 CS on the top side of the map, and how this fight turns against Schalke.
Yep, teleports come in from both sides towards the start here, but I think the big play you have to watch is Xerxe coming in for this big ultimate up against the wall. Because Norskeren gets hooked, but then it's a 3-man knock into a 4-man stun against the wall. That is why it is so scary to fight against Splyce in these tight corridors. And Chachi didn't even have his ultimate right there. That could have been even worse for Schalke had he had that spell up.
If he had had a flash right there, he most certainly would have flashed and probably triple killed with the ult into wallop into boulder toss. Ooh. And if plates can tell a story, the story they're telling us now is Splyce just smashing.
Yeah, Splyce are 5,000
We're at 1.5k. Remember, folks,
Wow.
this was just a few minutes ago. It was like, 1.5k, Schalke are fighting back. IgNar made that cool play where he hooked Norskeren and killed him. Not anymore. This is a 5k lead. Odoamne does not exist. It looks like a champion, but it's a really big creep, I promise you.
Can't even revive, man.
It's not his fault. He was, he's not put into a winning matchup here in this situation, and it has gone from bad to worse. Xerxe says, "Hello, we used to play together. You remember those days? I sure do." Killing spree for Xerxe.
Yowza.
That's brutal.
That was a lot of damage. I was just about to say, remember, Xerxe, all you got to do now, as Splyce, you have this big lead, split up the map, and have Xerxe go around killing people inside of the jungle. Just trail behind your solo laners right here. That's what he does with Humanoid, and they're able to pick up a kill and the tower and just push this game forward.
And for Splyce, 8374 very close in the standings, really only losing to other top teams, and reminding us how they got their spot at the top. Jeez. Don't stand against walls, folks. It's a dangerous, dangerous thing.
Let's be very clear, though, about the Splyce team, because we were very disappointed with them yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, about as inty as games can get between Splyce and Vitality just yesterday. And this was one of our teams that was solidly top 3. Schalke, it seemed like sort of a pipe dream that they were trying to break into that top 3. But now Splyce have come back after probably some very stern words out of Duke after yesterday's match. I mean, just looking at his face when he came up to the stage to congratulate his team, quote unquote, I'm sure they were spoken to deeply about that game, and now they look much more cohesive. You have comfort for Xerxe here on this Qiyana pick. It looks so good for him.
Okay, but explain to me, like, you make dad mad, you go home, and then he, like, gives you ice cream and you can play Qiyana like that? That's a lot of faith to go from yesterday and to say, hey, we're going to let you play a new champion rather than putting you on, like, something simple and boring like Jarvan.
Hey, I mean, if what you need to pop off against Schalke is something like this, to give Xerxe the ability to take something that you can then carry into the mid and late game with, I'm all for it right here. No, I don't think that's anyone's first thought when they saw Vitality's game just yesterday, the game against Vitality just yesterday, but so far everything seems to be working now for Splyce, and the only question is, can they now close with this comp?
Very good question. Difficult situation for Schalke. Obviously have some fantastic scaling options. Azir will always be that, but falling behind a Corki very often feels like a death sentence. And additionally, you have the lethality. Okay. One of the most... Either Humanoid is like super big brain or is just very lucky. That is the second hook that I think he has basically unintentionally dodged.
I think that was intentional. He saw the ward come over the wall, so he didn't necessarily know it was Blitzcrank right there, but I'll give him the benefit.
I'm going to credit him with like Spidey, Peter Tingle, you know?
Yeah.
Give me the idea.
The Peter Tingle.
Classic. That's a reference someone will get, which is important. Otherwise, we're just never funny. Now, as we check in, that's huge, but Humanoid, of course, manages to leave his way out. Root will come through as well. Xerxe just going to grab a Water Blade once again. IgNar, this time fishing. Okay.
Eventually, it's going to work.
There's a BM zoom-in, observers. I appreciate it.
Next time, just go a little bit further.
You miss 100% of the hooks you don't throw, folks. Wait for it.
Look at that.
Ward.
He's like, nope.
Ooh!
That was clean.
That was clean. And guys, it's not like IgNar is not good at Blitzcrank. He's 6'2" on the champion. He's actually a Blitzcrank monster. He's getting a little outplayed right now. In the mind games of Blitzcrank hooks, IgNar is behind.
And they're really trying to put a lot of resources towards this top side of the map. I mean, Schalke, they really just need one hook to land. That's one of the things about this champion is it can look real bad for a long time. One hook connects, and you win. And I do also want to note that that 6-2 record is in Europe. We did not include his LCK stats for those of you. Remember the best of the best quality. The best of the best quality was not the best of the best times for young IgNar and Trick. But now,
Schalke doing actually a lot to stall out this game as much as they can. And the good news is the Azir is basically even in terms of farm overall. The Jhin, however, solid lead. The Qiyana very much ahead. And my biggest concern is right now is that Odoamne is very far behind as the Gnar is going completely for a split push build with the Blade of the Rune King.
Yeah, and this sort of circles us back to the fact that Splyce, their team fight, they don't have like a beefy front line, really. Like Gnar can do some of it, but with this itemization, not really going to be all that successful. So they're trying to itemize into more of a 1-3-1 setup where it can just be Xerxe running around the map and killing people. And that's how they try to push this game forward. It's not about trying to match Schalke in these 5 versus 5s necessarily, unless they can take a really good fight with some of the tools they have, right? Because you have a Tahm Kench to make sure you have a numbers advantage. That's what they're going to be looking to work with in the next 5 or so minutes.
And the difficulty, of course, for Schalke at this point, it's very hard for them to hold on to any one part of the map without giving up something else in return. So you can see total control on the bottom side coming in now from Splyce in terms of what vision has been set up. Schalke in return, though, have gotten a bit of vision around the Baron area. Downside is that it's kind of a bluff when they threaten Baron. They just are really not strong enough to try and force it without Splyce knowing at this point.
Yeah, right now what we've seen from Trick in his pathing is just actually holding hands with Abbedagge, going up into top lane multiple times, just sitting in the lane, making sure this Azir can farm, because it's a real possibility with this turret being so low that Splyce make one move where they call the Tahm Kench up to the top lane with Xerxe, they instantly dive that tower and get the kill. So both IgNar and Trick have been on permanent protection duty for Abbedagge, while they just allow Upset, who's a little bit more safe, to just pick up all these waves that crash in towards that second mid lane tower.
And the small silver lining in this 6k gold deficit cloud for Schalke is that Upset has now finally gotten the Q evolve. He was 280 off, and right as he hit level 12, it was enough to shift over. Now as he finishes the Rage Blade, I believe level 13, still is the point where he'll be able to grab enough attack speed that he gets both those evolves. Very critical.
Oh my.
Fights to come. But now the Baron is going to be started up. Hugely aggressive move. Upset is now TPing in. The Kai'Sa can start to shred through the Baron. This is going to be pretty big. The rest of the team is now coming. Corki moving in. Tahm Kench now bringing the rest of the team in. The curtain call coming out. They've spotted everything. 3K and dropping. They know this is their disaster moment. Huge ulti coming out. And he steals it too. He gets to walk away. Hands in the air proud. With the fight no doubt going in the favor of Schalke though here. You do not set foot over that wall, says the rest of the team. Now fall back. Vizicsacsi still alive, running for their life. Odoamne gets the refresh. The double kill comes in for Upset. Still difficult situation. Disastrous for Schalke even, but they are holding on.
Schalke knew they were falling further and further behind without a way to get back into the game, so they make the brave call to start up that Baron. They win the team fight, but it was Xerxe in that clutch moment that comes over the wall with just a second to spare and steals away that clutch Baron.
And I'll be honest, hugely confident display coming in from Schalke, but when it comes down to it, those are the kind of crazy moves that you have to be willing to make to come out on top in a game where you are so far behind. But as we look at this, I think eyes on the jungler to see how this is stolen.
Yeah, he used the ultimate around the wall. Look at that stun on both Trick and Abbedagge just for some extra damage, and flashes over. 73 HP, it's an early smite there from Trick that Xerxe was able to react to in the heat of the moment. Beautiful stuff from them. And of course, a great wall to knock Chachi back in towards the pit that ends up allowing Schalke to pick up one more kill on towards Norskeren, but all in all, that's still victory for Splyce.
And now, pressure starts to mount. We look back at that last team fight, you can see the Azir is getting stronger and stronger. Have to see who can come out on top of the midline fights. That's a package for the Corki, and still Baron buff for a few members of Splyce.
Keep your eyes on how Splyce walk into these lanes, though. It's going to be a 1-2-2 setup at the moment with Chachi going solo up top side, Kobbe and Norskeren knowing they can rotate to either of these side lanes so quickly, while Xerxe just flutters between mid and bottom lane whenever those waves do start pushing on forward. Nothing is better for this Splyce composition than having a Baron buff. The Corki and Gnar in side lanes are going to be so deadly, so you must see Schalke make a proactive play. That's top lane on Chachi.
Vizicsacsi now running so classic, is going to get stunned up, locked down. They are going to kill him. He's so incredibly squishy. The shutdown is there, and it goes into the hands of Upset. Hugely crucial. We'll stop a bit of the progress here. Humanoid will trade it for a tier 2 tower, as well as the one in the mid. Still disadvantage for Schalke, but overall good to get the pick.
Right, it's a 2-tower trade for 1 pick that delays more of the Baron. Ultimately, Schalke are okay with sacrificing these objectives outside of their base, and they even have a window where they can then look to make another play. With 25 more seconds on Vizicsacsi, this Baron buff is pretty much out of commission.
Good to stop it. And if you're on the side of Schalke, it's a brief respite, a brief break, but definitely still has to be hurting there for Trick, knowing that at the end of the day, the reason they have to give up so much is because of a fumbled smite. Still good to capitalize here. Right after this play, Vizicsacsi buys a QSS. to try to stop this from happening again.
Yeah, Chachi just stepping up to that wave there. No vision inside of the top side jungle. I think that was a little bit greedy of him to push on forward. Of course, he did know the rest of his team was in position to respawn for objectives, so ultimately he does give over a shutdown, but does net his team the time they need to pick up the tower in both the mid lane and the bottom lane. And now with QSS on him and on Norskeren, the hope is that that's all Splyce need to stop this engage potential from Schalke.
And have to see maybe if Upset can find one of those infamous Kai'Sa picks where you are able to land the Void Seeker and then go into the back line. Jhin with the 4th shot, obviously incredibly strong, but if he doesn't have that prepped and it's going to take all 4 autos for him to get to it, then Kai'Sa can just shred through that health bar.
Yeah, I mean, all eyes are on Upset.
They're going to keep going. They're going to keep fishing for this one. Instead, Humanoid just going to turn on Abbedagge. Goodbye. They're willing to take the 1-for-1, however. Good kill in the end, but now Upset the unstoppable one as Abbedagge fights off more than he can shoot.
Yeah, that's the thing here. Yes, Humanoid gets that big 1-for-1 trade. They're turning it on towards Abbedagge, but Upset is getting fed. Now, 3 items on the Kai'Sa should have his E-Evolve as well, so the invisibility there will be on that champion. Now, 5 kills on him as well. Like, there's no way Schalke win this game if it's not Upset popping off in these team fights.
And Upset is a guy that we just inevitably have to look at when it comes to Schalke as a whole. Him versus Kobbe right now, Upset, look at that damage percentage. This is what's important. Splyce, a lot of people have been stepping up to carry. That's why the damage percent is lower for him. But on the side of Schalke, when push comes to shove, yes, Abbedagge has gotten better, but 32.7 is a huge number. He is the carry of this team.
Yeah, it's exactly the story of this game, too, where we see Upset taking much more responsibility in terms of overall damage, while on the other side, you know, Xerxe, Humanoid having much better games, so not as much reliance on Kobbe in a match like this.
But Kobbe is still someone that you have to look out for. I mean, it's a 3-item Jhin, and
he's not weak by any means, Drakos.
no, absolutely not. And my favorite thing about this dynamic between the Jhin and the Corki is like an AD carry pretending to be a mage, and Jhin is a mage pretending to be an AD carry. Literally just spells in your 4th shot.
Yep. Just like basically right-click as Jhin is an ability, you know?
Very short cooldown. Basically Yasuo Q.
It's actually true.
You've all been bamboozled, AD carry players. You're actually playing a mage when you pick Jhin.
You've been tricked. AD carries are terrible.
Except for in the mid lane.
Can he get it? He doesn't even try.
This is the wall.
That feels so bad. Literally every single time.
The gauntlet has been set, ladies and gentlemen. This is a mini game. Obviously, there's a lot of stakes for Schalke and for Splyce, but there are stakes for IgNar too. If he hooks someone over that specific wall, this game is a victory. I don't care who wins. This game is a victory for IgNar. If he doesn't, it's not a victory for Splyce, but it's a little embarrassing for IgNar. That's all I'll say.
He's going to have a chance, though. We got Baron spawning in 30 seconds. Maybe he tries to come in from this angle and won't have a chance to pick up that hook, but he must be able to land something. And pivotally, on one of these, there's so many good targets on Splyce. You can literally hook anyone besides a Gnar, I think. If you hook a Gnar, you're probably trolling. Anyone else?
Don't know why we say Gnar, but appreciate the intonation there. All right, don't hook Chachi is a new game. See, it was already hard enough to hook anybody, and now you're adding new rules, and I don't feel like that's very fair, Ender. But one thing we mentioned is very important. Just bring it back to Champ Select. Control of the river, crucial if you want to find picks. Control of the river is not in any way in favor of Schalke. Have to remember, they're still at a 8K gold deficit. They have an Infernal, which balances out a bit, but things are going to be very difficult for this team.
Yeah, the biggest difference in terms of DPS in this fight is going to be Humanoid over Abbedagge, right? Humanoid finishing off, you know, some big flat AD items in terms of the Essence Reaver, also has the attack speed and the rapid fire can. So this guy absolutely hurts the moment. But you already saw him in the 1v4 get that free kill against Abbedagge.
What the observers just pointed to by jumping up and highlighting Xerxe is the other giant discrepancy in DPS is the fact that there's a 3 AD item Qiyana who can one-shot Upset.
He can also get one shot, though.
Can also get one shot.
And that is the biggest concern for Splyce here is, again, they're not built for the best 5v5. Yes, if they layer up their spells, they can instantly destroy you, but in a long front-to-back team fight, I don't actually favor this side.
Humanoid, though, spotting out a bit of vision as he gets ready to push forward, has the package to escape, so it feels comfortable moving into Fog of War. Now Schalke, seeing him on the bottom side, feel more comfortable to move in to contest a bit of this vision being laid down. Have to be careful, though. Xerxe with the Water Blade can just one-shot IgNar.
Yeah, I mean, Schalke are realizing right now that Splyce can't really commit hard on towards this Baron. Instead, they're splitting up across the map, 1-3-1 at the moment, to get these side lane champions going. Humanoid bent down deep in the ball lane.
Ooh, Abbedagge, though, taking a lot of damage from the package. Here comes Upset, but they don't like any CC. He can't find a way in. Humanoid just going to grab that one. Easy peasy.
a little awkward there from Abbedagge.
I mean, in 43 seconds now, where Splyce have an absolute highway to this Baron.
Yeah, so what does Splyce do? They commit 4 on Baron. Humanoid has TP, but he can also just push in this bottom lane. Upset is being pulled away from this team fight. They're going to have to give up Baron.
Making the call. They want to push down onto Humanoid instead. Upset, though, level 16 to level 18. Humanoid does a lot of damage. He's dodging, but it doesn't matter. Huge shield. Can he get it? Upset goes through, finds the kill, shut down. The TP now coming in as well. Vizicsacsi, not sure about that with the flash. He doesn't hit the hook. No, IgNar, he's now running. He's so incredibly fast with the hyper, and they're just going to back off. They give up the Baron. They get the kill that they wanted, but a bit of a comedy of errors there on the bottom side.
It's really unfortunate that hook doesn't land on Xerxe too, because Schalke had an opportunity to break the Baron buff on both side lane split pushers. Now with Gnar retaining that Baron, it's absolutely miserable. Now, oh, the burn damage from the package, doing a lot right there. One more auto, all they needed. And then Upset plays this really nicely, I think, trying to use his ultimate and flash to dodge away from some critical abilities. W doesn't land, of course, and walks into some, but then gets on over from the back, dodges away from the ultimate. Don't think it was ultimately necessary, but, oh no, you're not going to do him like this, right?
Looks death in the eyes and walks away. That hyper proc, so strong. Can't really
The worst part is you can just hold that spell. Just keep running at Gnar. Eventually he's going to be in a position where he's stuck against the wall and can't juke.
IgNar felt it in his bones, and I'm not going to doubt that.
I'm going to doubt it because he missed.
He had his a lot of criticism, that's all I'm saying.
Let's look at Upset's items, though, because this guy's strong.
And that's what's important. Interesting. At the end of the day, Schalke were caught between a rock and a hard place. They got something out of that play, which is the best that they can do, but Splyce are completely and totally dominating in this game. Of course, be sure to stick around for the Poach Mask, which Splyce, win or lose, Coach Duke is going to be there, and we're going to discuss Xerxe's, Qiyana, and more. Unravel the secrets of this pick. Is it good in solo queue? Is it only good in pro play? Can I play it? Will Ender report me if I do? These are the questions we need answered, folks.
Along with, can IgNar land a hook? Sorry, I gotta keep bringing it back.
IgNar, you're putting too much pressure on him.
I wonder if Duke can talk us through that.
Performance anxiety. He's got to go. Will he find the avenue? For now, no is the answer. As Splyce continue to shove in here on the top side, the Baron buff backing them up. Of course, the poke from a Corki as well as a Jhin is going to make it very difficult for Schalke to set into these towers. The looming threat of a Blitzcrank hook is going to mean that Splyce give them a decent amount of respect, but may not be enough.
It's really hard, though, I think, for Splyce to actually use this Baron, importantly because they did lose on Humanoid earlier. So right now, instead of pressuring 3 lanes simultaneously, it is just the 2 between top lane and mid lane. And there's pretty decent wave clear on the side of Schalke at this point in the game, so they can knock away those minion waves. There's also always the threat of a Blitzcrank hook, so it's risky to ever step up towards a tower. Might just go.
Abbedagge now leaps forward. Upset now sees his opportunity to go in. The flash out to safety. Doesn't have his flash from the previous engage. And the turn and burn comes in on the current call. They need to body block. Trick is there. They set up the tower as well to secure their retreat. Will walk away, but they're giving up a mid lane inhibitor in the meantime. And Odoamne is just forced to sit back and watch as this happen. He uses his ult. He's going to try to chase someone down, but nothing is going to happen there either. Schalke, Splyce just continue to get the best of them in every exchange.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually really confused right there because I think Schalke were in a position where they could have just sat inside of their base and cleared away these minion waves without forcing a play. The pressure wasn't ultimately there from the side of Splyce. They've been taking it very slow throughout the entire duration of this Baron buff. They commit 5 people to the top lane trying to make some sort of hero play to shut down the last seconds of this Baron, but ultimately sacrifice that mid lane tower, which is a really big deal.
Absolutely. And here now, single minion there, getting ready to push in. Odoamne going to do what he can to clear the waves. Xerxe still only level 15. Getting closer and closer, though, to having the max rank and the ult there. And very difficult to get anything done here. Once again, eyes. Here we go. Eyes on... No. All right, never mind. The Hex Flash. Last time he did it, he landed the hook. That's all I'm saying.
There's no flash on Norskeren, no flash on Kobbe, but no time for Schalke as the inhib just goes down.
In this, there's a few rules against Splyce. 1, don't go to 40 minutes. And 2, don't let them choke you out in a game. And Splyce are absolutely choking Schalke out. And we're getting closer to 40 minutes. So really, things are going from bad to worse very rapidly for Schalke.
See, but that's the thing. I think actually the later we get into this game, I'm more like, okay, Schalke have more time to pick up some items, especially on this Azir, because obviously right now Upset is doing just fine. And yes, all of Splyce's champions, except for the Tahm Kench, are going to scale into doing incredible damage. But I do think that eventually we do reach a point where Schalke's team fights are very, very winnable.
Ooh, but Ender, it's hard for me to believe at this point. Given the potential for Xerxe to one-shot someone, given
But I'm just thinking, right? Like, you have all these tools to try and keep you at range, right? The Azir ultimate, if you have your cooldowns up, it's very easy to reactively dodge, I think, against the longer range Qiyana ultimates. Maybe not the initial, like, R quick against burst, the wall, but that big AoE around the walls, you can dodge away from those, and it's not that difficult. So I do see a world in which they can jump back at the initial Splyce engage, assuming they have good vision to protect themselves against some sort of a flank coming through.
TK ult, Odoamne gonna try to make it out to safety, can't just dash over this wall, but he fumbles it. That's not at all what you want to see. No.
And top lane, Abbedagge goes down to Xerxe.
From bad to worse, that's the one person you don't want to hook. That was the only rule. You broke the only rule. Don't hook the... It's disaster. It's a slaughter. Upset, though, does go godlike in the meantime. The jungler will be traded, but Xerxe now on the way down. Upset is now wondering what went wrong in this game, that he would be caught between 4 members of Splyce. IgNar running for the hills. Upset getting ready to be put in a body bag. 6 feet under is the name of the game for him. How far down can they go? Splyce, an absolutely dominant performance. This Qiyana jungle setting things off right. And Splyce moving up. No doubt they are top 3 in the LEC, but can they push on to top 2 as they take down Schalke in a definitive win? And at the end of the day, fantastic showing from Splyce. Once again, a good look overall. Yesterday, of course, the exception to that. But after yesterday's lackluster performance, where they did still find the win, importantly so, they turned it around. It was clean this game, honestly, from start to finish. Outside of 1 or 2 picks on the Vizicsacsi, the rest was flawless.
Yeah, and coming into this match, our eyes on the Splyce side were on Xerxe and Humanoid. Well, what happens? There's a level 3 gank in the mid lane. Xerxe gets the ball rolling, then Humanoid turns into the split push demon. Of course, got caught out a couple of times in the end, but the pressure alone was enough to slowly choke out Schalke from ever having a chance to come back in this one.
And a lot of those exchanges, very, very brutal to watch. Of course, there's a lot of good pro view options in that past game. I'm sure people have nice highlight clips out for upset IgNar and Xerxe, depending on who they chose to watch. And when you look at this, it's honestly, okay, I'm gonna say this, and people are gonna get mad at me, specifically Fnatic fans. Splyce might be the 2nd best team in our league.
It's possible. I mean, right now, like, the top seems like it could be a little bit shaky, you know, with Fnatic dropping some games here and there.
Let's be clear, when you say the top, you mean Fnatic.
I mean Fnatic. I mean, we were thinking Splyce could be too. We were concerned about Splyce too after yesterday's game. That's true. But literally everything changed. It seems to be more of a blip on the radar for this squad, because this was classic Splyce. It was calm, cool, collected, strong early performance from Xerxe, and then just, you know, slowly draining your opponent's will to live over the next 35 minutes.
Now, of course, owning the head-to-head over Schalke with this win here, wins in the second half, being valued more. Not owning the head-to-head against G2 is rough, but they're in an excellent position now, Ender, to move up and to get that bye. And of course, if you're not familiar with our playoff format, that's massive. Just by getting top 2, you are guaranteed to go to Athens, whether it's in the loser's bracket or the winner bracket, we have to see. But regular season is so incredibly important, so for them to not only be developing as a team, but to be getting wins when they matter is massive for Splyce.
It's going to be absolutely huge, but ultimately, at the end of the day, this is a team that is trying to prove itself. Has been a long time since they've been in one of those big final situations. They're on the road to do it right now, and I think those key players we keep mentioning are definitely the ones trying to carry them to that final destination.
It was fantastic from Xerxe. We keep singing his praises. You broke down his jungle pathing, but not only is he intelligent about the game, it clears he's got the mechanics as well with some of those Qiyana plays. And it's honestly exciting to see the continued development of Splyce. We heard Excoundrel talk about it as him from someone outside kind of looking in. We saw that, like, Splyce are kind of that middle of the pack team. Like, what do you say about Splyce? They got long games, but now they're getting better every single week. And now you can't not talk about Splyce when you talk about the top of Europe. However, here, I want to talk to you about key player of the game. @LOL Esports on Twitter is the place. Vizicsacsi, Xerxe, Humanoid. What? It's the one in the middle.
Yeah, that one.
That's the only one that matters, folks.
That one right there.
Bam, that one. I'm pointing at it right now.
I mean, he played Qiyana jungle, right?
He would have won. If they just won the game and he played Qiyana jungle, I would have just given it to him because that's super cool. But then he also like popped off and carried and like one-shot Abbedagge in the late game. But honestly, to get more insight on Splyce's win, let's head over to Laure and Humanoid.
Thank you, guys, and thank you, Humanoid, for joining me. We don't get to talk to you that much, so you had an interesting week, if I may say. Can you tell me about it?
Well, yeah, yesterday's game was a bit rough for us. I think we played really bad, but yeah, it's a 2-0, so it feels really good. And yeah, this week I think we didn't play our best, but I think we are still improving a lot. And if we can show it on stage for the next weeks, it will be like really good, and we will be a really good team.
I agree on that. I mean, not only you guys are in a good spot for playoffs, but you can actually dream about Athens at the end of the splits. You were in a good position as well in spring, but you stopped during the playoffs. So how is it different this time?
Yeah, I think this split we are way better than last split. I think last split we didn't really have much of a chance for top 2 at least. I think this split we can do it, and I think yeah, we are all more used to playing with each other as well. So we are just a better team this split.
It may be a bold statement here, but you are better than last split as well. Do you agree on that?
Yeah, I think I improved a lot from last split.
And Caps yesterday said that you may qualify for the next baby Caps in the LEC. So do you agree with this statement? The next big mid laner?
Well, I think I'm definitely at the top. I'm not sure if I'm like the second best or the third best, so I don't really know about that. But yeah, I think it feels a lot to me if Caps thinks that I'm good. So yeah.
Very humble, as expected. Now one last question for you, Qiyana, better laner or jungler?
I think she's really broken in both roles. So yeah, but she's really fun. I think mid lane is better because she's just. I want to play her, so
right.
That's why.
Well, thank you for the insights. We'll see what the analysts think about that because we have a pregame ready.
Thank you, Laure. We are joined by Splyce's coach, Duke, and going to kick things off, Duke. Today's game, a little bit better than yesterday's game.
For sure.
What happened yesterday? I'd like to touch on that one before we kind of move on to this one. But you guys won in the end, right? It was a little bit shaky in the mid-game, though.
Yeah, I don't know if any team won yesterday, but I think Vitality should have won. It was definitely our worst game this split yesterday. I think we tried to work on really new stuff this week in terms of our mid-game, because mid-game is our biggest problem. And I think we got also a bit complacent after finally getting a bit of recognition for our performances. And during the end of last week, we were not really focused in scrims enough, and it showed on stage where we got the easiest part of what we wanted to work on while forgetting the hard part, and it looked like we were playing like a challenger NA team in the end. So
really, and I love your honesty, to be honest, because we were quite critical ourselves of the game yesterday, but it definitely felt like that you had a much better performance today. And like, what we're really curious about is what you came in with the draft for today, because when I saw it, I was asking myself, okay, how exactly does this comp work? Because it feels like that you've got like a lot of pieces. You have a bit of team fighting, a bit of split pushing. So I'm really curious as to what you think, like, what are the main goals of this kind of comp?
And with the draft, we can do pretty much everything. The thing is, we wanted a bit of a way to pressure bot, because usually in the Corki Azir matchup, while Corki is usually winning games in terms of statistic, I think it's also really player dependent, and Abbedagge is a really strong Azir. And Azir usually wins in the early game, so we knew that they would most likely have mid-prio for the early game, so we wanted something to be able to contest a bit more on the bot side. We expected the Blitzcrank, so we didn't ban it for our blind pick Tahm Kench. And Jhin Tahm Kench is overall a strong lane. Kobbe is excellent on Jhin. And it also helps us have the range advantage in case they want to teamfight, they have to come into us, while also having a good setup for the 1v1 with Tahm Kench being able to cover the side, while we have two winning side laners in the mid game.
And you drafted Qiyana for Xerxe, and he performed incredibly well in this game. Talk to us a little bit about what the goal was for Xerxe on Qiyana.
And Qiyana is one of the champion where you can just go wild, and that's what I want from Xerxe in the early game. Basically, Qiyana is a good version of Xin Zhao, where you can just super aggressive, a lot of damage, CC, good ganking. So yeah, he did what, like, we talked a lot about our early game. That was also one of our problems, especially in scrims. And we talked a lot about the communication we want to have around the early game, and I'm really proud of what they did today. So we were able to have Qiyana to kind of bring a bit of the X factor, I would say, in the early game, and then in a 1v1 setup, she will just like this, for example, on the Aatrox, just catch the side laners and send them back home.
So the ultimate debate, do you think she's a better jungler, or do you think she's a better laner?
I think she's strong in both, but the thing is, I think on mid lane you can't just pick it mid lane. Like
that's fair.
Like if she has a good matchup mid lane, she's maybe even stronger because you get even more resources, so you can one shot them even more. But yeah, in jungle, she's, I would say, more yeah, she's easier to draft maybe in jungle.
I do find that when you put her in the jungle, I think there's a bit of agency on you to try and snowball as well. Because if you don't get ahead, as you said, it can be difficult to get some of those resources. But I think Xerxe demonstrated that you can quite effectively snowball on the champ.
And it wasn't just the early game that Xerxe had an impact. He had that huge Baron steal, which, talking to you, Vedius, you felt was a really influential part of the game.
So I felt like that the actual setup from Schalke here was good. And I wonder if you felt that this was a bit of a mistake on your team's part, Duke, because it felt like that you lost control around Baron, and while your team recognized it, this could have almost been a swing factor that brought Schalke back into the game.
Yeah, we had a bit of the same problem against, I don't know which team actually, where they sneaked a Baron like this. I mean, I think we were still a bit slow in the mid game, setting up the 1-3-1. I think we should have maybe sent Corki bot a bit before, so we gave them a bit too much way to deal with pressure. We were kind of expecting it too, but maybe we were a bit overconfident in our ability to destroy them in team fights, which the problem is with this Baron is that it puts us in a defavorable position on how we want to team fight, because I think we have stronger team fighting than their comp if they come into us and they can't find flanks. And the thing is, by going on last minute into the Baron to get the Baron, we're in a position where we are actually flanking ourselves from all angle. And it was actually a bad team fight. So I'll have to rewatch it for sure. I think our mid game was okay, could be better for sure, but the setup of the Baron, I think it was more how we wanted to approach the team fight that was wrong here.
It's very fair.
So we have our Kia player of the game, and oh, surprise, surprise, it is Xerxe with 62% of the vote. How did he only get 62%? I mean, he had an absolutely insane
game.
game.
A lot of fans are probably voting for both Humanoid and Chachi, who also had a fantastic game. I think Humanoid's now up to like 13 or 14 solo kills overall this split. So I feel like a lot of Splyce members have been stepping up. I feel like it's great to hear from Duke, because I feel like a lot of the things that he's talking about, we've talked a lot about and we recognize as well. And I'm excited to see where Splyce can develop, because if we ignore yesterday's game, I do think that there is a lot of evidence to suggest that right now Splyce is our second best team in Europe, and the only hope now is that you can continue this performance all the way up to playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's tough to say if we are the second best team. I think we are among this top tier, and we proved it, but I also heard like people say that we would be capped and that we wouldn't improve afterwards. And I think that's the biggest mistake about our lineup. I think this lineup of Splyce has actually a lot of room to grow again. And when I see the games we are playing on stage, especially, and even in scrims actually, like there's so much room to improvement, and we know the way to do it, but we have to take a bit our time. And I don't see us stopping here. So maybe we are not the clear-cut second team, but I think we can even become the first.
Well, Duke, you'll be happy to know that I'm actually a Splyce convert now. I came into this week, I wasn't really sure kind of your identity, but I'm a Splyce convert now. We actually have got Duke on post-game lobby with us after the whole broadcast. If you want to hear more from Duke and about Splyce, as well as his thoughts on the rest of the league, he'll be there in post-game lobby. But coming up next, we've got G2 Esports looking to take their 7th win in a row against SK Gaming. We'll be right back.
So they can just set up for these surprise picks. X-Flash, IgNar, got around the hook, he juked him! Norskeren wasn't ready for it, he uses the thick skin, but I think it's too little too late. IgNar breaks the shield, that's a new mechanic. It has gone from bad to worse. Xerxe says, hello, we used to play together, you remember those days? I sure do. 3K and dropping, they know this is their disaster moment. Huge ulti coming in, and he steals it too! He gets the walk away, hands in the air proud, with the fight no doubt going in the favor of Schalke here. You do not set foot over that wall.
And top lane, Abbedagge goes down to Xerxe.
From bad to worse, that's the one person you don't want to hook. That was the only rule. You broke the only rule. Don't hook the... It's disaster. It's a slaughter. Upset, though, does go godlike in the meantime. No doubt they are top 3 in the LEC, but can they push on to top 2 as they take down Schalke in a definitive win?
Bye.